Welcome back, guys, to the Pulse. Blizzard has been hard at work on Heart of the Swarm, and for good reason. The release is looming March 12th. They recently released a lot of new patch notes and patch changes. We're going to touch on them right now. Going to kick it off with the Reaper. No longer requiring a tech lab. That means, yes, you can reactor your Reapers. Along with that, movement speed has been increased, but it's not all good for the Reaper's small damage nerfs, as well as the removal of battlefield awareness means you can no longer see up cliffs before you dive into the action. Andre, I know you've been playing a lot of Heart of the Swarm. I want to hear your thoughts on the Reaper. How does it affect the matchups?
Okay, here's the thing. The Reapers were completely useless. I'm sorry, Ben.
Dude, Reaper expand.
Now he's going to double Reaper expand.
The best build. People were doing Reaper expand. They're still doing Reaper expand in GSL.
And you know what, Ben?
Don't even talk to me right now.
It's still awful. So
you're out of the Ohana.
In Wings of Liberty, okay, Reapers just we didn't see much of them. They just weren't that applicable. But now I think like they have a purpose. They have a real role to fulfill, which is scouting and doing these small raids. Pretty much the nitro packs that they start with, plus the quickness, like just the fact that you can get them out. You can do double barracks, double refinery Reapers. You don't even have to put add-ons on.
It's Rack City.
Yeah, you just go for it. It puts in a huge amount of pressure on any opponent, whether it's Zerg, Terran, or Protons.
Now you can 5 racks Reaper with just 3 racks.
Exactly.
Which is kind of sick, actually. Yeah. Is it going to come back in the other matchups? Do you think it's only going to be seen in TVT?
TVT, it's definitely going to be seen. I think it's one of the strongest ways to open currently. I think Widow Mines are going to be altered a little bit later down the line. That's a good counter to Reapers in the current stage. TVZ, I'm not sure. TVP, I'm not sure. But I've been fiddling around with it. It's definitely a little bit harder in those matchups, but we'll see.
What about the damage nerf? What are the implications there?
Definitely, I mean, you're not going to kill a lot of probes or Zerglings even now, but what it really comes down to, it's going to catch your opponent out of position. So it's a positional thing. It's I'm going to keep you in your base or else. So let's say Terran player 1-1-1s, and I have a Reaper, or 6 Reapers out in the field. I can let them push, knowing that I'm going to kill a lot of their SCVs or their mules or whatever. I'm going to get in there and do a lot of damage and be back in time for my opponent when they actually strike.
Hellbat also undergoing a few changes.
This is awesome. Have you guys played with this? I know Clutch has.
Yeah, if you play, I mean, Bio plus Hellbats were insane already, but look at how much damage they do now.
Okay, I thought this was a nerf. I was like, oh, Zerglings are going to be great against them now.
Because of the cone. Okay, so let's talk. The change officially changes. The cone was reduced drastically.
Yes.
The damage was increased drastically. Here's the new conal attack.
Watch this, okay? I mean, they have range, so the first Zerglings only attack.
This is clutch micro, by the way, guys. Look at the control.
Andre's like, man.
He's running out of the screen.
Andre's like, go ahead and attack me, bro. I didn't trust him at first, but I just tested the
practice coming in.
But just think, that cone is supposed to be 150% greater. That's how the previous patch was. So I was like, oh yeah, this is a big nerf. Back then the Hellbats still 2-shotted all Zerglings. I thought Zerglings are going to be great. Nope. No. I mean, the video that you saw before, you had 117 Zerglings against 20 Hellbats, and 3 died.
And just like any barbecue, you want to roast evenly, which is what we saw. But
it's ridiculous.
The Hellbat also feels that it stays alive a lot longer, which is nice.
Oh, it does. It has more HP.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the numbers show it, but even feeling with that many Zerglings, with that many Zerglings coming at me, is like they're dead. They're not going to make it, and with them able to hold, only 3 die.
I've been going double reactor factory in all of my TVZs, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to do my 8-minute roach all in," and it's like I just transform all my.
Now your Hellbats do more damage than a roach.
Yeah, basically. With the splash, definitely. It's awesome.
So you just can't really do it's super hard to deal with. Like I played a couple of ZVTs the other day. Standard Marine Hellion push, but now all these Hellions can turn into Hellbats, and it is very, very difficult to hold. 10, 12 Marines, 2 medevacs, and some Hellbats. Can Hellbats still be? Yeah, they can still be healed by medevacs.
They can be healed by SCVs and medevacs.
So you can actually load up 3 Hellions and 2 SCVs, and they'll repair them inside the medevac, and then when you drop them, they'll be full health, and the medevac will be healing it as it is as well.
But medevacs don't heal Hellions. It only heals them when they're in Hellbat mode.
Well, I think we can all agree that that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Please change it back.
I don't know.
Or what? Zerg
honestly,
will win?
I don't know what's going to happen with that. I know the intentions, David Kim, I think, posted it, where he said it's going to help Protoss, the TVP, actually. But I think that's silly, because if I'm ever meching in TVP, Hellions are good for raiding, but at endgame, it's just Thors, Siege Tanks, and Vikings, and Ghosts, of course. That's the only composition I want. You're not going to include Hellbats just because of the sheer amount of damage the other units can do. So I feel like it's kind of a misplaced change.
All right.
But I like it for TVZ, not for ZVT.
One of the changes I'm pretty happy with is some of the medevac healing was reverted. Caduceus Reactor did do bonus healing now. It was a little bit too extreme. Marauder could stand in a mineral line and heal through everything.
Yeah, 1 Marauder and 1 medevac could kill a Colossus. That was like the healing rate. 1 Marine and 1 medevac could kill a siege tank. Just 1v1.
Neither of those statistics surprised me. It sounds about like Wings of Liberty to me. But
now think if the Hellbat was in the current state with the medevac and SCVs. You'd be repairing about 40 HP per second. Awesome.
Raven also undergoing some changes. They took away the single target nuke that Seeker Missile became, gave it back its splash damage, lowered the energy cost, but it still keeps the 5-second delay. Before 5, actually was a 3-second delay. That's up to 5-second delay. So Ravens now kind of function kind of like High Templar. What do you guys think?
I just love that now they turn red. They're like KO Ken, man. It's just things are powering up. But, I mean, the Raven, I feel like the timer on it is still really long. 5 seconds is pretty significant. You really can't hit anything except really big, slow targets, which I know is the goal anyways. But, I mean, it limits the use. It's specifically saying the Seeker Missile can only be used in this regard. Things that are fast units, I mean, I guess if they're not paying attention, you still can strike mineral lines and whatnot, but for the most part, it'll never hit things like drones, queens on creep, or other things other than just a big broodlord corrupt their army.
And if you do attack a big slow target, but that target is destroyed, for example, you target a Colossus at the back of the line, and it gets killed, and all the other forces move forward, that one Seeker Missile is going to target the same area where that big unit was destroyed. So it's not going to cancel itself. It is kind of cool. It's not going to cancel itself, but if it keeps moving, your enemy keeps moving, it's just going to miss everything.
You can shoot it into big balls of bio.
Yeah,
that's true. It's still going to blow up.
Yeah.
Eventually. There might not be anything there anymore. But
so look cool.
Know. You know, right now in Wings of Liberty, I think it's really silly to see the end battles of TVZ with Ravens just going in and just Seeker Missile, everything, and everything dies or doesn't die. And it's like, oh, well, Terran won. Or,
now the game's over one way or another.
Now I think there's a little bit more like the Ravens won't be that dominating role. You know, it used to be in TVZ, the Ghosts at endgame. It was like, how well do the Ghosts do? It's very 0 or 1, on or off, win or lose.
All or nothing.
Yeah, that's it. It came down to that one battle and the one unit against the other unit, and that's it. And I feel like Ravens will supplement killing Broodlords and Corruptors, but they won't be the main thing to go for.
It's way better to have splash damage than single target damage.
I think the last really big change that we're getting in Heart of the Swarm with this most recent patch is siege mode being removed, the research for siege mode being removed. Now your tanks are just going to pop out. They're going to be able to siege up. I'm wondering, are the implications here better all-ins, or are the implications here easier defenses?
I think the latter, really. I don't think this is necessarily something for better all-ins. Of course, you can hit a couple of timings a little bit quicker, but I still think like if Terran went mech against Protoss, they often died against some really silly gateway timing, like just early on, a couple of gates. They just had too many units and the tanks were not really ready yet. Now you save some resources, you perhaps get one more tank, and you get siege mode immediately. So I think it like sort of is a gateway to a longer mech game for Terran against Protoss.
I was talking to TT1 about this, and I completely agreed with you, Rotterdam. I said, you know, 1-1-1 really isn't going to be that effective. Mech still is going to be whatever.
Purify is amazing anyways.
But what he told me is that, and I said this, I was like, maybe that you can, you cast the Purify, it's 60 seconds that goes down. If you guys don't know what Purify is, it's basically making your Nexus into a cannon.
A siege cannon.
Yeah.
Siege
cannon.
it's
Much
a
better,
siege
much better than.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like making
siege
a Nexus
cannon.
into a Tempest.
But TT1 was saying the siege tank timings are so fast that even if you cast the Purify, it doesn't matter. And what they do, the Terrans do these days, is they use the mine as a spotter instead of, you know, a huge attacker. So they always have range. They don't have to have their Marines in front. So they can just go ahead, only snipe the Nexus, and then have not only the mine there, but Marines and siege tanks there really, really early.
What about TVZ? Open up 1-2 factories, make some Hellions, make 2 siege tanks, and push. That's going to come at like 7.5, 8 minutes.
I would say yes, but why do that when you can make Hellbats?
Well, you're going to have them, right? You know?
I mean,
More
roaches.
Hellbats, okay?
okay.
that's an actual push, though, that a lot of Kespa players do, though. The 8-minute tank push, they don't even necessarily go for like lots of harassment. They just say make Marines and Hellions poke up the ramp and then make a couple tanks and push. So I think those timings become a lot more sharper. And it's going to make some attacks in TVT, but I agree with Andre and Kev. I don't think in like Terran versus Protoss, a 1-1-1 becomes that much stronger at all, if at all.
I feel the same way.
Cool. A couple other smaller changes. The mothership, well, I say smaller change. I know Kevin might not agree with me. The mothership and the Oracle had a couple of their abilities swapped. The Time Warp now onto the mothership. The Envision now onto the Oracle. Changes up the way that Protoss is allowed to sort of open.
Yeah, it makes me a little bit sad, Ben, because Dustin Brown, I think, has said several times that in Heart of the Swarm they want to make Protoss give some options that we don't always have to make a robotics facility in case we have to deal with invisible units. And needless to say, in Heart of the Swarm, you're going to need observers pretty much all the time, not just for Cloak Banshees as we see right now, but what to think about the Widow Mines. I mean, you're going to need detection. And now once more, I feel that, yeah, some people say like, well, you can open Oracle. Oracle is going to give some sort of detection, but I don't know, man. I still feel kind of shaky to just completely ignore Robo or without detection. I don't know.
You can go Robo, you can go Oracle. You might not be able to just go straight Twilight Council. But that's what was too strong in the first place, just having always having detection and being able to go Blink Stalkers no matter what, right? I mean, that's the purpose of the change.
I'm sorry, say it again?
So the whole motivation for that change is saying that just like 4-gate Blink Stalker's too strong.
Well, they already accounted for that, though.
Yeah, but
a
the
30-second
new
nerf.
Blink,
Yeah.
it takes so long to research.
That's either 3 more chrono boosts, which I don't think fits into the 170-second time, or you know, just getting it super, super late. And I think 20, 30 seconds is quite substantial. Think, if I proxy a factory and then just float it into your base and put a Widow Mine there, like, how can you stop that? It's instantly going to burrow, and if you're not there, you're dead, right? But
that sounds like a pretty good build.
if you're not there, you're pretty much losing a lot of probes. You don't have oracles, you don't have observers at that time, and all I have to do is go 1 Rax Marauder in the front, make sure your unit's up there, and it's like, LOL, where are your probes, bro? They're nowhere.
Look at Andre breaking the metagame already.
That's TT1, by the way.
I want to add one more thing as well. This also means guaranteed Robo in PvP, because we are, of course, with the new Dark Shrine, it's cheaper already. So Dark Templars, we're going to see it probably more often. And like Oracle as detection against in a PvP, that makes almost no sense, because Blink Stalkers are still going to be good, even though it takes longer. So basically, you're forced to make a Robo in PvP right now.
But you could say, okay, well, I'm going to go Blink Stalkers and counter that, knowing I don't have to get a Robo. So it's like coin flipping, right?
Yeah, but what about, I mean, Oracles can still detect, though, so Stargate's not necessarily the worst option there.
So Dark Templars beat Blink Stalkers because of how, you know, Blink Stalkers, you want to just focus on getting them and then use your mothership to see up the ramp.
But I mean, I think it's unlikely that you're going to have a PvP with a couple of Oracles all around to protect 2-3 bases or something. So basically, you either are going to always need like defensive cannons, or I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this, and I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to change it back once more.
All right. Last change that we have to make note of is one that I think is kind of not that big of a deal. Fungal has been nerfed once again. It no longer does that 10 additional damage to armored units. I think given what Fungal is at this point in Heart of the Swarm, it's kind of inconsequential. But you do have to ask, why make infestors now? Because Fungal has really been nerfed into the ground.
I mean, Fungal, after the initial nerf, I guess, was really bad, like with projectile and reducing its range. But increasing its range did help it a little bit, because you can kind of like shoot it, and you can as long as you land 1, you can still land 3 or 4. Because the idea of Fungal is not necessarily just hitting 1. It's when you hit 1, you can hit 3 or 4. Now I think with the damage, it doesn't really matter too much because again, fungal, as long as you have like the units supplanting it, like Broodlords, or you even have like Ultralisk coming in with Baneling, especially since Ultras now have insane damage. I think fungal is still in a pretty good spot. I think that with all the other tools that Zerg has, especially with late game options with Vipers and stuff, I think fungal could be such a sick combination. If you fungal, Blinding Cloud, get Zerglings around so they can't escape the cloud, it'd be absolutely insane.
I'm really excited to see the late game spellcaster interactions for Zerg. I love the way Hive Tech Zerg feels in Heart of the Swarm because you have options, and options is something that we haven't really had in Wings of Liberty. And I kind of hate to say that, but really the Wings of Liberty metagame has stagnated pretty hard.
Yeah, it gives you like more trees to go to. Even as a Terran player, at first I was thinking I'm going to switch to Zerg because it seems Zerg has more options than Heart of the Swarm. But once I made Terran changes, it's like, nah, I'm going to stick with Terran because it feels fun to play again, which is important. It doesn't
Zerg
stagnate.
is heavily underpowered, though, I think, in this.
Well, let's talk about that because I wanted to
team.
hit on the metagame right now. What do you think about the state of Heart of the Swarm?
I think Protoss versus Zerg is completely flipped around. I thought that, and I think Cats and TT1 have both confirmed that to me, or at least they share that same opinion. PVZ, it's just Broodlord Corruptor doesn't have that same punch that it used to, especially with the Tempest being out. You have the Void Rays that are super good.
Yeah, Void Rays are so good now.
And because of that, just the tech opens up. Void Rays are such a stable way of defending against things. And even in Wings of Liberty, I felt Void Rays were really good at defending against a lot of different all-ins coming off of Zerg 3 bases. But now it's like, because the Void Rays are extra good, I can tech up to High Templars really safe and incorporate that in my army. And now Void Ray Colossus is even really good. Remember, not only was the Void Ray buff, but the counter was nerfed, which were Infestors. Infestors used to just shut them down completely. Now they don't do that.
Yeah, but they buffed Hydras though, and Hydras are really good in Heart of the Swarm too.
Colossus?
Yeah, Colossus still wrecked them.
Well, what do you think, Kev, is like the resident Protoss guy? How are you feeling about the Protoss versus Zerg matchup? How do you feel about all the other matchups in the game?
Seriously, like I cannot actually talk about it because I've been traveling all around and I've had so little time to sit down. I think before I went to Europe, I played like 50, 60 Heart of the Swarm games, but now stuff changed again. So even if I would give my opinion, it would be kind of irrelevant.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we are going to...
I want to add one thing. I like the new Void Race.
Roddy's back in business. MMA, you want to play again?
No longer need rocks to charge up.
PvT, I think Terran has a slight advantage right now with the Widow Mines and the lack of detection. TVZ, I think Zerg is not looking good because of the Hellbat. And last but not, well, I don't want to go into the mirror matchups. PvP doesn't look too great to me. ZVZ looks the same to me. And TVT looks really, really nice.
As a caster, I'm really sad that we can't call the Kadushavak. Because when you get the upgrade, you get the Caduceus-vac.
No, Dad.
Kadushavaks are doing so much! Oh my god!
Nope.
Just
Guys,
keep it metavex.
we are going to kick it out to our first break. When we get back, we'll be talking about foreign players in Korea, specifically in Code S. Don't go anywhere. The Pulse will be right back.